Chapter 371. She was scolded. Sashimi couldn't take it anymore and defended her. Didn't you listen? Yaksen was clearly out of Mo-san's league. That's why Yaksen was forced. As her mother, why aren't you supporting your daughter at all? Yaksen didn't do anything wrong. Can't you tell right from wrong? With Grandma protecting her, Yaksen felt relieved. Mom, if word spreads that Yaksen and Mo-san are in such a relationship, how is she going to face anyone in the future? It's so embarrassing. Xu Yanshan found it disgusting. Even if her daughter couldn't marry a rich second-generation heir, she would marry an old man who was rich. It's all that brat's fault. She dares to send me wreaths on my birthday? She won't have a good time since she disrupted my birthday and ruined Jackson's reputation. She deserves to die. Sashimi comforted Yaksen as she scolded. This has to happen, but what should we do? How is Yaksen going to be able to face anyone in the future? How is she going to marry a rich second-generation heir? Tell me, why are you so agitated just now that you would push the blame to Mo Junrong? If this continues, will we still have a chance to enter the Mo family? You incompetent thing. Xu Yanshan was a little worried. I was too angry just now. The person lying in his arms should have been me. Anran was showing off and provoking me. How could I endure it? She deserves to die. When Yaksen saw Anran like this, she was furious. Useless. Xu Yanshan pointed at Yaksen's temples and scolded her. Alright, don't scold her anymore. Think about what we should do. Ting Young is ill and Ting is in jail. If we don't take this opportunity to find someone to support us, won't our whole family suffer? Sashimi frowned, not knowing what to do. She looked at the mess on the floor. Such a good birthday party was ruined by that brat, and she had wasted a jade bracelet. It was a treasure passed down from the ancestors, and it would be troublesome to redeem it back without money. Mom, Grandma, don't worry, I have a plan. Let's hurry home. Yaksen wiped her tears and walked away angrily, ignoring the pain from her face. What can you do? Xu Yanshan shouted from behind, wondering what rotten idea her daughter had come up with this time. None of her plans ever succeeded. Hurry up and leave, don't embarrass yourself here. Sashimi picked up her bag and followed behind angrily. At the same time, Anran made a fuss in the banquet hall. Someone had taken a video and posted it online. Because Yanran's figure was in it, it attracted a lot of attention. In addition, Anran had been trending the past few days, and every time the situation turned into a big commotion. Many people were curious about what happened and clicked on to watch. At the Mo family, old Mrs. Mo was bored and watching TV at home. Auntie Wu played the video on her phone for old Mrs. Mo to see. After watching the entire video, she frowned, her heart aching for Anran. Who does she think she is? She dares to seduce my grandson? I knew that girl wasn't innocent, but I didn't expect her to do this. Old Mrs. Mo was furious at Lan Yaksen. Fortunately, she didn't succeed, but her scheming thoughts were already frightening. Oh, Mrs. Mo, Miss Lan is so smart. She subdued that woman with just a few words, but her background is really pitiful. Nanny Wu spoke sympathetically. Initially, when old Master Mo was still alive, he had arranged for Lan Yaksen to marry into the Mo family, but it changed to Anran. To be honest, I was worried about Anran, and whether she would be able to become the young lady of the Mo family. Now it seems that I find it unnecessary to worry. Fortunately, Lan Yaksen didn't marry into the family, or else I would have been forever furious. Old Mrs. Mo was glad that the Mo family's door wasn't so easy to enter. Young Master is so outstanding. There's a lot of people who want to marry into this family. This young madam's and your blessing. Nanny Wu smiled. Old Mrs. Mo nodded with satisfaction. Call Anran and Junrong over. I have something to say to them. Nanny Wu turned to leave, but old Mrs. Mo seemed to have remembered something. Have you prepared the food that I asked you to prepare last time? Nanny smiled. Yes, it is ready. We have already started preparing these few days after you gave the order. We have bought everything and placed it in the backyard. It is all young Master Sheng Li's favorite food, so don't worry. Old Mrs. Mo nodded with a smile. She hadn't been able to sleep in the past few days. The moment she closed her eyes, her mind was filled with images of old Mr. Mo and Mo Sheng Li. As the days inched closer, she became more agitated. She couldn't imagine what it would be like to see him again. Nanny Wu returned as soon as she left the house. Oh, Mrs. Mo, Miss Anran and young Master are back. Speak of the devil, let them in. Oh, Mrs. Mo smiled and said, Grandma, what made you so happy? Anran smiled and said, She didn't bring the peanut crisp, but a pair of knee pads this time. Oh, Mrs. Mo's eyes lit up when she saw her. You little rascal. Grandma is happy to see you. What did you bring? Why didn't you bring the peanut crisps here? I finished the previous batch long ago and was thinking of asking you to bring some more. I kept craving them. Grandma, peanut crisp is delicious, but you can't eat too much. Although you have these herbs to nourish your body, you are old and can't eat too many candied things. Look at what I brought for you. Anna knelt down, opened the knee pads, and gently wrapped them around old Mrs. Moses' legs. She pressed the button lightly, and old Mrs. Moses' legs immediately felt warm, as if they were being massaged. These are a pair of knee pads for older people. I know that you have a problem with leg pain, so these can help you warm and give you a massage. It'll be comfortable after wearing them for a few minutes every day. How did you know I have knee leg pain? I never told you that. Oh, Mrs. Mo smiled. She could feel that her legs were much more comfortable. And then smiled. The last time I was here, I saw that you were hammering your legs, and you weren't walking very well. I guess that there must be something wrong with your legs, so I thought I would buy this pair of knee pads for you to try. Oh, Mrs. Mo thought that her granddaughter-in-law was beautiful, smart, and thoughtful, and she felt that she had found a treasure. But a great-granddaughter-in-law, look at this rascal, he hadn't given me anything like this before. Oh, Mrs. Mo complained. Grandma, didn't I send you my wife? Godenon couldn't help but smile. He took off his suit, placed it on a chair beside him, and sat down gently. I saw the video just now. The video is spreading like wildfire. I know that girl in the video. She came to visit me last time, and I saw through her scheme. Janong, you have to be careful. You can't betray Adrian, or I won't forgive you. Old Miss Mo warned. Chapter 372, Heads Up. Grandma, don't worry. I believe in Jinrong. But it's really embarrassing. My sister actually fell in love with her brother-in-law, and this matter was even posted online. It's so embarrassing. Amber lowered her head and spoke sadly. It doesn't matter. Jinrong is very outstanding and our family is rich. There are many people who want to marry him, so it's understandable that she wants to play some tricks. I wouldn't be willing if they were too hurt to hurt. I wouldn't be willing if they were to hurt the both of you. Old Mrs. Mo admitted that her grandson was outstanding. Which girl wouldn't want to marry a good man? Anran, your house isn't safe and Janong is busy with work. He can't spend time with you often. Why don't you move here and keep me company? Old Mrs. Mo was bored. She wouldn't be lonely if there was someone accompanying her. Anran smiled gently, looking sad again. Grandma, I'm afraid that it won't work for a while. Dad is sick in the hospital and hasn't woken up. Today, Grandma went overboard and I couldn't help but go over to embarrass her. But for now, I will stay in the hospital to take care of my dad. Old Mrs. Mo nodded. I knew that you were a filial child. It's true, there isn't such a mother in the world. It's the first time I've seen someone like your grandma. Her own son is sick, and yet she had the heart to celebrate her birthday with others. She herself couldn't do such a heartless thing. Of course, Grandma, but let's not talk about her anymore. We're here today for something else. Anran wanted to say something but hesitated. She couldn't bring herself to say it, so she turned to look at Mojang. "What is it?" old Mrs. Mo asked seriously. Mojang thought about it for a long time before speaking. "When Uncle comes back this time, he may not be the same uncle anymore." Old Mrs. Mo didn't understand what he meant. "What do you mean? I don't understand. Let's be clear. Why isn't your uncle the same when he comes back?" Mojang's expression was solemn and his brows were tightly furrowed, looking troubled at a loss for words. "Grandma, we're here today to give you a heads up. Tomorrow, Uncle might do something bad, and we don't know the details yet," Anran reminded her tactfully. "What kind of bad things can he do? He disappeared for so many years and suddenly came back. Isn't that a good thing?" Mrs. Mo still didn't understand what they were saying. "Grandma, have you thought about it? Uncle disappeared so many years ago, but why did he decide to come back now? Didn't you think it's strange that he didn't inform you or that he was back?" Mojang asked. Mrs. Mo found it strange too after thinking about it. If he was alive, he should have tried to contact them after coming ashore, but he had mysteriously disappeared for such a long time that there wasn't any news of him until today. Mrs. Mo frowned, appearing uneasy. "Are you saying that this uncle is fake?" Mojang shook his head. He had too few clues right now, so he could only wait until tomorrow. "I don't know. Uncle hasn't seen me yet, but I have a bad feeling about this. Grandma, you have to be mentally prepared. It's possible that Uncle isn't the same uncle as before." "What exactly did he do to make you think like this? If he isn't your uncle, who else could he be? Don't scare yourselves. He's finally coming back after so many years. Is there a problem?" Well, Mrs. Mo didn't believe them. "Grandma, it's been so many years and people have changed. How do you feel what he has been thinking all these years? I'm here to remind you to be careful. If there's nothing wrong, I will take my suspicion being wrong. But if there's anything wrong, Grandma, you have to be careful," Zhenrong reminded her. Young Master Shengli is such a good person. How could he harm her?" Nanny didn't believe it either. Over the years she had watched old Mrs. Mo. She could tell that old Mrs. Mo missed him. Mo Shengli was a filial person in the past, so he wouldn't do such a thing. It's been so many years. We have to be vigilant. Besides, we really received the information and came to tell Grandma. We'll have to wait for the results tomorrow. It would be best that there isn't anything, as we don't want Uncle to end up like that. Anran spoke quietly. Old Mrs. Mo kept quiet and thinking that their words made sense. Time had passed and it was enough to change a person. If Mo Shengli was alright, why didn't he come back then, and only now appear after so many years? "Alright, you can go back first. I'm a little tired." Old Mrs. Mo leaned on her walking stick and slowly left her seat with the help of Nanny Wu to return to the second floor. Mojang looked at old Mrs. Mo's sad back view. He had no choice and had to tell her. "I'm going to make a move." Anran and Mojang split up. She changed into an obvious set of clothes and followed Mosan to a small alley. She grabbed Mosan's neck and asked in a deep voice, "Where are the things Mojang asked you to hide?" Mosan immediately recognized Anran's voice. He clenched her wrist tightly and forced out a few words. "Young madam, you're mistaken. It's me. I'm Mosan." "I know. Tell me, what are the things Mojang ordered you to hide? I can't wait." In order to make the act more realistic, Anran used a little more strength. Mosan's face and neck were flushed red from her grip. She leaned down and spoke into Mosan's ear. "Cooperate. Someone is watching." Mosan was taken aback and returned to his senses. "It's in the company's database. There's a secret compartment behind it. Young madam, please don't say that I said it. I was just trying to save my life." Mosan begged. Anran spoke very loudly, as if she was speaking for the others to hear. "You're not allowed to tell Mojang about this, or I'll kill you." Before Mosan could react, Anran knocked him out, dragging him into the car and drove off. She arrived at the company at 5 p.m. Work ended at 6. During the past hour, Anran had hacked into the company's network and found the route. She had planned it beforehand, so no one would notice the route she was going to use, to and fro. Anran changed her clothes, put on makeup so that no one would recognize her, wore a wig and hung the company's card over her neck and strutted in her high heels. She swiped the card skillfully and got into the elevator and walked towards the archive room. The Mole Corporation's archive room was in a corner on the 3rd floor, and there was a person watching over it. She was a high-level internet specialist of the Mole Corporation and was also a hacker who was in charge of the archives room security. She took out a small computer in her hand, sat in a corner, and hacked into the archives room network. Chapter 373, Stealing Secret Information. The girl guarding the room was called Tyann. When she discovered that someone tried to hack into the archives room network and had attempted to change the password to the archive room door, she immediately engaged in a life-or-death struggle. Tyann's skills were ranked in the top 8 of the world. She had never met anyone stronger than her, so she didn't take the invasion seriously. However, as the two of them fought more and more, Tyann felt the pressure. Anran broke her defenses easily and changed the password to the archive room. Tyann had a bad premonition and ran away, giving Anran a chance to enter. She quickly entered the passcode and strode in, closing the door behind her as though nothing had happened. She found the secret compartment Mosan mentioned. The secret compartment was pressed against the wall with a small door above. She could see the contents with the light pole of the door. Not only did it contain the Mole Corporation's landmarks, it also contained the company's CEO seal, the Mole family villa's real estate license, and a secret folder. Anran was just about to open it to see what was inside. Footsteps suddenly came from outside, and Anran knew that Mojang was here with his people. She hurriedly hid. There was only one entrance into the archives room, and she needed Mojang to lure these people away, so she sent Mojang a message. "You distract them, I have the items." Mojang glanced at his phone, stopped in his tracks, and chided. "Since a hacker invaded, how could you leave your post? Aren't you giving the hacker a chance?" Mojang looked anxious. The things inside were extremely important, were all company secrets. They would be ruined if they were lost. "Boss Mo, I'm sorry. I tried my best to stop him, but his skills were too good. I couldn't stop him." Tyann lowered her head, appearing as though she had done something wrong. "Gather all the hackers in the company immediately to the conference room for a meeting, specifically to stop the hacker. Go now. I want to see if there's any missing items." Mojang walked into the archive room alone. Anran had recovered the passcode, which was why she could enter so easily. "Hurry!" Mojang said after confirming no one was outside before letting Anran go. Anran took her things and walked out of the archive room to the bathroom. She changed her clothes and strutted out. Now the company was in a state of panic and everyone knew that the items had been stolen. There was a flurry of discussion and it was close to the end of work. Anran took the special passage used by the president of the company so that no one would know she was here. Outside the company, Anran sent a message to Mo Shengli. "I have the items. When are you coming to get it?" "Leave it in the rubbish bin outside your house. Don't play any tricks on me or I'll expose you," Mo Shengli replied. Anran brought the documents over to her house. Seeing that there was no one around, she pretended to throw away the things to her house and took a taxi to the hospital. Before leaving, she sent someone to spy outside her house to see if someone really came to get the document. She wanted to see what the person looked like. At the hospital, Tingyun was awake and his consciousness gradually cleared. Li Yura was ecstatic. She had a drip in her left hand and tears of excitement were streaming down her face as she raised the drip bottle. "Tingyun, you're finally awake. You scared me." Li Yura choked. "Yura, what's wrong with you? Why are you on an IV drip as well?" The first thing Tingyun did after waking up was not to care about himself but his wife. Although he was lying on the hospital bed with an oxygen mask, his eyes were full of worry. Dad, Mom couldn't eat or sleep in the past 2 days because of you. Her body couldn't take it and she even fainted the last time. Yanran interrupted. You talk too fast. Hubby, why didn't you know how to rest during work? You almost didn't come back. If it weren't for Anran, we wouldn't know what to do. How are we going to live without you? Leo grumbled. What about Anran? Tingyun looked around but didn't find his daughter. Anran saved you. Our daughter is our savior. She insisted on using Chinese medicine to remove the blood clot in your brain. Otherwise you would have been operated on, Leo cried. Suddenly the ward door opened. Anran walked in with dinner and cried excitedly when she saw her father was awake. Dad, you're finally awake. She walked to Tingyun's bedside and held his hand tightly. Anran, I heard it from your mother. I want to thank you for saving me. Tingyun was proud to have such an outstanding daughter. You're my dad. Isn't it my duty to save you? Why should you thank me? Anran sat down and gently tucked Tingyun in. She then opened the dinner and placed it in front of Tingyun with a smile. I heard that you used Chinese medicine on me. How did you do that? In my condition, I would have undergone a craniectomy. Tingyun felt uncomfortable all over, but it wasn't all that serious. Dad, you still don't understand your body's condition. The blood clot in your brain had oppressed your blood vessels and may have caused a hemorrhage if you weren't careful. I wanted to use Chinese medicine to melt your blood clot. It was too dangerous to do a craniotomy. Anran picked up a drumstick and placed it in front of Tingyun. Anran, your dad's illness is just getting better. He needed to eat light food and not greasy ones. Leo smiled as she said this. Mom, Dad's illness requires nutrient. Previously, the light food mentioned refers to small illnesses. There's no need to abstain from food with Chinese medicine. Dad's body is very weak right now and he needs to eat more meat to supplement his health. And then smiled and placed a few pieces of meat in a bowl, passing it to Tingyun. I'll listen to my daughter. Tingyun smiled as he ate heartedly. He looked around as if something was missing. Yuro, has my mom been here? Tingyun asked persistently. Although he was mentally prepared and knew that his mother might not have come to see him, he still wanted to ask. Dad, don't think about Grandma. She was thinking of having a birthday party when you were sick. Yanran pouted. Leo nudged him lightly, signaling him to keep quiet. What did you say? Tingyun was a little surprised. Why did his mother do that? Tingyun, I was here when Mom came by. Leo smiled bitterly. Tingyun suddenly felt that the meat in his hand wasn't as fragrant and he wasn't in the mood to eat anymore. He was about to lie down when Zhao Shimi walked into the ward while cursing. Leo, you taught your daughter well. You dared to embarrass me in front of so many people and disrupt my banquet. A banquet that was held in exchange for the jade bracelet passed down by my ancestors was ruined by you. You must compensate me. Sashimi pushed the door open and looked at Leo angrily. Chapter 374, She Wanted to Kill Someone? Tingyun watched his mother clamber at the side, his heart turning cold. He knew that his mother didn't love him, but he didn't expect he had no place in his mother's heart at all. Mom, did you really throw a birthday party when I was about to die? Tingyun sat at the hospital bed with tears in his eyes. His sudden voice shocked Zhao Shimi. Tingyun, you're awake? My son, your life is so bitter. Your biological daughter bullied your mom when you were all conscious. Now that you're awake, you have to discipline her. Now Zhao Shimi was putting on a pitiful appearance so that her son could pity her. But what she didn't know was that her son's heart had turned cold. Tingyun, you're awake? Xu Yanshan's expression turned to one of shock and sadness. My dad just woke up. What are you doing here? Anna didn't look at them. She picked up the fruit knife by the side, picked up an apple, and gently peeled the apple skin. Anna, don't go overboard. We're your elders, and you have been disrespectful and defamed me time and time again. We didn't bicker with you, but today you were too much. You didn't just defame Yaxin, you also embarrassed your grandma in front of so many people. Ting-young, actually, I shouldn't tell you about this, but I have to explain myself today. Your daughter was outrageous. Before Xu Yanchen could finish her sentence, Ting-young spoke with a pained expression. No matter how outrageous my daughter is, she is still my daughter. Son, when is it an outsider's turn to gossip? I'm still sick. Don't disrupt my rest. Get out. Ting-young finally didn't stand on the ceremony with them. His words were harsh. Ting-young, I know you're ill, and I'm your mother. I don't want to bicker with you. But is it right for you to speak to your sister-in-law like this? Is this what I taught you since you were a child? How could you have no manners? Zhao shielded Xu Yanchen as she cursed. Mom, in your eyes, she is your whole family, while I am the outsider. Please take your beloved daughter-in-law and leave this place. I need to rest. Taeyong didn't want to look at his mother anymore. Zhao was flushed with anger, thinking about how filial her son usually was. He never complained, so how did it end up like this? Good. Let's just see how long you can protect this brat. If you don't give me an explanation today, I'm going to tear down this hospital. As Zhao spoke, she sat down on the floor and crossed her legs like a little lady from a village. Anna sat there silently, peeling the apple without raising her head to look at Zhao. Grandma, Dad chased you away, so why are you still sitting here? Yanren mumbled. He never dared to look at Zhao in the eye. Perhaps it was his trauma from a young age, but he never looked directly at the fierce-looking grandma when he grew up. You bastard! I can't deal with your dad, but can I not deal with you? Since when you were allowed to gossip here? Do you think you're great after becoming a big star? But even if you are the Jade Empire, you have to respect me. Xu Yanchen cursed. She vented all her grievances on Yanren, as if warning Ting-young that no matter what old Mrs. Lander did, she was right, and he would always be filial to his elders. Yanren suddenly stopped and stared at Xu Yanchen with a terrifying gaze. An apple was successfully skinned, and she handed it to Yanren. She didn't put down the knife in her hand, but walked straight towards them with it. Yanren, sis, put the knife down. Yanren looked at Yanren nervously. She clenched the knife in her hand tightly, not having the slightest intentions of putting it down. What are you trying to do? Xu Yanchen swallowed nervously. You brat, what are you trying to do? Put the knife down. Let me tell you, there are people here, and if you hurt me, you will go to jail. Zhao watched Yanren walk towards her with a knife in hand. She was frightened and hurriedly sat up, shrinking into a corner. Yanren, put the knife down. Ting-young spoke anxiously from behind her. Liu didn't bear to watch her daughter do such a thing. She was about to step forward to stop Yanren when she smiled. Grandma, what are you afraid of? I just wanted to peel an apple for you. Auntie, do you want some? Yanren pointed the tip of the knife at Xu Yanchen, her gaze extremely horrifying, as if she wanted to kill them. Xu Yanchen hurriedly shook her head. Grandma, do you want some? Yanren turned around again with a sinister smile on her face. Zhao swallowed and shook her head hurriedly, horror written all over her face. Grandma, don't be scared. This knife isn't sharp at all. It can't even swiftly peel an apple, let alone hurt someone. Who wants to try? Yanren held the knife and continued to gesture around Xu Yanchen. The blade was very sharp, and against the light, one could almost see the reflected glint. The two of them shook their heads immediately. Xu Yanchen was frightened, and she glanced at Ting-young, who was behind Yanren. Ting-young, hurry and persuade your daughter. Is she possessed? I don't want to die. She wouldn't dare. I'm her grandma, and you're her aunt. Would she dare to kill someone here? If she dares... Zhao mustered her courage, thinking that Yanren didn't dare to kill her, so her voice trembled slightly. Yanren suddenly turned her head to look at Zhao. What if I dare? Grandma, do you want to try? Yanren held the knife an inch closer to Zhao. Zhao was so frightened that she knelt under the table, trembling and curled up. Yanren had never seen this old thing so scared. Yanren, don't! Li Yuro shouted from behind, afraid that the tip of the knife would touch Zhao. Zhao closed her eyes in fear. Grandma, what are you afraid of? I just saw a thread in your clothes and wanted to help you remove it. Anran saw the thread on Zashumi's shoulder and she used a knife to cut it. Tingyoung sighed in relief. He knew his daughter wouldn't do such a thing. Grandma, it's getting late. I think it's best for you to go back. The tongue would be cut instead of the thread, Anran threatened. Zashumi was frightened to death. She hurriedly stood up from underneath the table and ran out at double speed. Xu Yanshan watched as old Mrs. Land left. It was dangerous for her to stay here alone. I'm leaving too. Xu Yanshan inched out slowly. The hero heaved a sigh of relief. Anran, your appearance was too scary. You scared me. I thought you were going to do something silly. You can't scare people like this anymore. Your father has just recovered from his illness. Chapter 375, The Person by the Rubbish Bin. Mom, if you don't scare them, how would they leave? I'm not that silly. Wouldn't it dirty my hands if I stained it with their blood? Anran smiled and said. Yanran was dumbfounded. His mouth was wide enough to stuff an apple inside of it. What are you looking at? Eat your apple. Anran stuffed the apple into Yanran's mouth. I didn't expect Mom to do this. Tingyoung was upset. Dad, don't think about this anymore. You only just recovered and need to maintain a happy mood. Coincidentally, I just filmed a few hilarious variety shows. Let me show you. Yanran picked up the TV remote and found the variety show he had filmed that was recently being aired. Yanran, what happened last time? Are they making money because of your fame? Tingyoung remembered the last time he called. He had seen the news. It's nothing. Dad, hurry up and eat. I rejected a lot of variety shows for you. Tomorrow I have another on schedule again, so I can't come to see you. Yanran was a little upset. He had specifically pushed back many schedules and taken more than a week off. After his father recovered, he should go back to work. Okay. Anran's summer break is about to start. Are there any arrangements? Tingyoung had his eyes on Anran's skills and felt that she was very talented in medicine, so he wanted her to come to the hospital early to help. Dad, the Research Institute is hiring again. Even if they're just hiring one person, I want to try. This time, I'm going to go in for an interview for an internship. I believe that I will get one. Anran was very confident. Tingyoung was silent for a moment before he smiled. Anran, why are you so insistent on going to the Research Institute? It doesn't matter if you don't make it. Just come back to the hospital and help me. With your skills, I believe everyone will agree. Hubby, it's a good thing that she wants to go to the Research Institute. Her career rank will be better than our private enterprise. Leo supported her daughter, and everything she did was right. Dad, the Research Institute is the best profession in Long City. Someone from the Land family must enter. Don't worry, I will bring you glory. Anran promised. Suddenly her phone rang and Fatty sent her a video. He waited outside the Land family's house for an hour and finally noticed a person wearing a mask and hat walking to the trash can to take documents. Fatty took a video cleverly. His appearance couldn't be seen from the video, but it was determined that he was a man. Anran watched the video first, deep in thought. Tingyoung thought that she was busy and took a simple sip of porridge. Anran, if you're busy, you can go first. I'm almost recovered anyway, so with Yanran here today, nothing will happen. Anran shook her head, denying that she was busy. Her mission was complete, and the next step was Mo Shangli's matter. At the Mo family, now that the Mo Corporation was in a mess, the news that information was stolen from the archive room was spreading like wildfire in the business world. Many people coveted the Mo Corporation and released news of their intention to acquire the secrets of the Mo Corporation. They offered very high prices, and many pieces of fake news appeared at once, speculating about it being sky-high prices on the market. Young Master, the news had spread. What are we going to do next? Mo-san asked. The Mo Corporation is a big piece of me, and the theft of the confidential documents isn't a small matter. Everyone wants to have a bite. Let them be, but we still have to put on a show. Immediately establish an investigation team to investigate this matter. Reginald smiled. Young Master, the Qin family heard that the Mole Corporation's confidential documents were stolen and have gotten someone to purchase all the information on the black market. It seems that Qin Hao wants to eat us up, but everything he purchased is fake news. Will he vomit blood if he finds out? Mo-san said. Qin Hao has been in the business world for so many years. If he knew he was cheated, he wouldn't make such a big fuss in order to maintain his image. How can his makeup business been recently? Mo Jinrong glanced up and asked. Their sales have always been in the forefront of cosmetics and naturally surpasses the Mo families. The last time I went to find Cao Shen, he rejected it because I was from the competitor company, so you weren't able to meet him. Do you want to make another appointment? Mo-san asked. Since I can't see him, there's no need to make another appointment. Tell Anren to hurry and make some makeup so that we can overshower the Qin families. Mo Jinrong was a competitive person, and the reason why the Mo family was ranked third in the world was because of his competitive spirit. The Mo family has always been the number one in every aspect, and he wouldn't allow anyone else to surpass him. Miss Anren was held up by something else last time, so she should be free now. Last time she sent someone to monitor us at the black market, but they didn't take any action, so I found it strange. Did she let us go? Mo-san asked. It doesn't matter. It's the last time anyway. The approval should be done soon. We should hurry and promote the medicine. I'll talk to those companies, book a private room, and tell them I have something important to discuss with them. Mo Jinrong wanted to get the price down, as if it would allow ordinary people to use such good medicine and wouldn't be sold in the black market. But my guess is those old guys wouldn't agree so easily. They wouldn't let go of such a big piece of meat, Mo-san speculated. They have to agree even if they don't want to. They have to succeed. Mo-san didn't say anything else, seeing Mo Jinrong's persistence. He was about to turn around when the phone in his hand rang. It was an incoming call from old Mrs. Mo. He glanced at Mo Jinrong and picked up the call. Old Mrs. Mo, how may I help you? You're asking me? Something so big happened in the company, but you and Jinrong still haven't told me. If I hadn't seen the news online, how would you kept this from me? Over the phone, old Mrs. Mo's voice was anxious. She and old Master Mo established the Mo Corporation together. Although it was led to glory by her grandson, they put a lot of thought when it was first established. Now that the confidential documents were gone, it was the equivalent to the entire company being emptied. If someone else took it and did something unbelievable, their lives would be over. Oh, Mrs. Mo, don't be anxious. Young Master has sent someone over to investigate this matter. I believe there won't be any problems. Mo-san couldn't tell her the truth yet, so he could only comfort her. News has been circulating online. Someone speculated a high price for the Mo Corporation's confidential documents, and you said that there wouldn't be any problems? Get that rascal to talk to me. He didn't even pick up my calls. He's getting bolder and bolder. Chapter 376. Cooperation. Old Mrs. Mo's hand trembled with anger. Mo-san passed the phone to Mo Jinrong. He could sense old Mrs. Mo's anger from afar. Grandma, I've sent someone to find it. Don't worry, the truth will come to light and nothing will happen. Mo Jinrong could only comfort her like this. What else do you want to happen? Isn't this serious enough? There are so many people watching the Mo family covertly. Who wouldn't want a piece of juicy meat? I don't care what method you use. Get it back as soon as possible. I will not let your grandfather's and my efforts be wasted. Old Mrs. Mo was anxious. Yes, I understand. Let me ask you, is this related to Sheng Li? Old Mrs. Mo recalled her advice and vaguely suspected that the matter wasn't simple. Mo Jinrong didn't agree or disagree. He just spoke coldly. Grandma, I will find it. He hung up first. At this moment, Anren sent a message. The documents have been taken, but I can't see his face. She sent him the video Fatty took, and could only see a black figure in the video. Mo Jinrong couldn't be sure if it was Mo Sheng Li. After all, they hadn't seen each other for so many years, so a person's posture could have changed. Young master, the company is panicking, and they are asking why we didn't call the police. Mosan couldn't answer this question, so he could only ask Mojang. He was the one who instigated this. How am I supposed to call the police? If they want to say something, let them. Mojang should be at Grandma's house today. Send someone outside to keep a roll profile, and don't let anyone find out, Mojang said. Yes, young master. Mosan left after receiving the order. Mojang was a little melancholic in the office. He sent Anran a message and went to old Mrs. Mo's. Meanwhile, Shu Yanchan and Zhao Shumi hurriedly escaped the hospital. They were still in the daze when they returned home. Crazy! Crazy! She dared to kill someone! How did I have such an unfollowed granddaughter? Zhao Shumi trembled at the thought of her time in the hospital. Mom, Anran is outrageous. It's fine for me, but you're her elder. How can she bully you like that? That brat is quite tough, so it won't do us any good to confront her. Shu Yanshan started to sow discord again. She was still an outsider after all, and Zhao Shumi was Anran's grandma, but she could always talk to her. Zhao Shumi's eyes turned and she looked at Shu Yanshan shrewdly with her big round eyes. That girl is outrageous. You're right. She dares to rail on my neck and act arrogantly, but every time I deal with her, I end in failure. I have lived such a useless life. Mom, you don't have to feel aggrieved. If toughness doesn't work, soft tactics will. I think this girl is amendable to soft tactics, but not hard ones. Isn't she blaming you for sending her back to the countryside? This time, why don't we put on a ruse of self-injury? We just have to put on a gentle act. I don't believe the girl's heart is made of stone. Shu Yanshan smiled, her big eyes full of ideas. What kind of gentle acts? Zhao Shumi inched her ear closer to Shu Yanshan, and the two of them started discussing in the room. On the other hand, Yaxin had her own ideas. After her medicine hadn't been put to use, and she couldn't face Mojang directly, so she could only sneak in. She didn't believe Mojang could escape her grasp. Suddenly, Yaxin's phone rang. It was an unknown number, and she picked it up hesitantly. Hello? Who are you? A gentle voice came from the phone, but the tone was full of hatred. Let's meet at the cafe next to your school. Now. Before Yaxin could react, the other party hung up. She didn't know who it was, but since she had her number, she could be a benefactor. Yaxin packed up, told Shu Yanshan that she was going to be studying in the library, and left with her bag. She waited in the cafe for a long time, thinking that it was a prank. Just as she was about to leave, a fair-skinned girl of about the same age as her walked down towards her. She was dressed in branded clothes and looked simple and elegant. She should be a well-behaved girl. She walked slowly to Yaxin, sat down slowly, and stared at her intently. Yaxin scrolled through her contacts. She didn't seem to know this person. Who are you? Why do you have my number? It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is our enemies and goals are aligned. The girl smiled. Enemies? Sorry, I think you're mistaken. I have never had any enemies. Yaxin thought that she had the wrong person and was about to leave when the girl spoke again. Lan Anran and Mojang are your targets and enemies, right? What a coincidence. Me too. I'm Qin Shu from the Qin family. You should have heard of me. Qin Shu? Yaxin seemed to have heard this name before and suddenly remembered that she was the one who took the intimate photos of Mojang. You want to steal my man? I don't think there's a need for us to cooperate. Yaxin glanced at Qin Shu. She had already treated her as the enemy, and any woman who tried to steal her man was her enemy. You're an idiot. Do you know why you haven't succeeded yet? It's because you're extremely stupid. You're just a pretty face with a love brain. How can anyone like you win against Anran? Qin Shu sneered casually. These words infuriated her. Who said I can't beat her? That's because I didn't want to bicker with her. Who do you think you are to accuse me? I don't have the right to scold you, but I know that you've always been at odds with her and never been able to surpass her. It seems that you really like the feeling of being stepped on by her. Pretend that I didn't come and prepare for the rest of your life to be stepped on by her." Hinshu pretended to be very helpless and stood up to leave. "Wait a minute, what exactly do you want?" Yaksen called out to her in a hurry. "I'm just here to help you. Don't worry, I won't snatch Mojin Rong from you. What I want is for Anran to suffer 10 million times the pain I felt to vent my hatred." Kinshu blamed everything on Anran. If it weren't for her, she would be fine. "It seems that you're also a pitiful person who was abandoned. We are the same. In that case, I'll reluctantly help you." Yaksen wasn't convinced, but she really needed someone to help her. "You can say whatever you want. Mojin Rong and my father are going to have a banquet in a private room. I can give you a chance and Mojin Rong will be yours. When the time comes, you can do whatever you want, but only if you make Anran suffer," Hinshu said. Chapter 377, He's Back. Her father had told her about it long ago, and she wanted them to have a taste of being lied to. "I hope you won't lie to me. If I find out that you lied to me, I'll kill you," Yaksen warned. She knew that it was risky to cooperate with someone she wasn't familiar with, but she was anxious to win, so she could only take a gamble. "You'll know when the time comes. It'll be at the Xiangyun Hotel's private room. Room 301 in 2 days. You can be a waiter or whatever you want. It's up to you." Hinshu smiled and left. Yaksen could vaguely feel that her chance had come. She couldn't meet Mojin Rong officially, so she had to think of a way to avoid his gaze. At the Mo family, Mo-san had already gotten someone to guard outside old Mrs. Mo's house and monitor everything. There was a banquet in the villa. Although she was warned that Mo Shengli was dangerous, old Mrs. Mo still prepared a rich table of food, which was his favorite food when he was young. She looked at the dishes in front of her and felt her heart ache. She hadn't eaten any of these since Mo Shengli left. The banquet was placed in front of the opera house. For Mo Shengli, she deliberately lowered the stage, which became only 1 level higher than the dining room. "Oh, Mrs. Mo, young master is here," Annie Wu spoke respectfully. "Is Anran here yet?" Oh, Mrs. Mo was concerned. "Young madam isn't here yet. She'll probably be here soon. After all, her father is still in the hospital." Old Mrs. Mo nodded at Nanny Wu's words. "Nanny Wu, what show should we prepare for Shengli? It's been so many years. I wonder if he'll like the show." The moment old Mrs. Mo finished speaking, Mojin Rong walked over. "Grandma, why isn't Uncle here yet?" It was already the afternoon, but Mojin Rong hadn't seen him yet. "I don't know. He didn't call me either. Is he not coming?" Old Mrs. Mo asked anxiously, tightly holding on to Mojin Rong's hand. At this moment, the young housekeeper hurried in. "Oh, Mrs. Mo, young master, there is a strange person outside. He's wearing a hat and black clothes. He is standing at the door and hasn't come in after a long time." Oh, Mrs. Mo wondered if it was Mo Shengli. "Hurry, invite him in," she said agitatedly. "Mom, I'm here." A voice sounded from behind the crowd. Old Mrs. Mo's pupils dilated as she stared at the crowd at the loss. The crowd started to disperse, and out came a man in black and wearing a hat. He walked over with his head down and a crutch. Old Mrs. Mo's vision blurred, and she couldn't see them anymore. "You are... Mom, don't you remember me? I can't believe I disappeared for more than 10 years. You've become older." The old man gradually got close to old Mrs. Mo and slowly raised his hand. He stared at her with a pair of deep eyes, but his face was full of stories and full of vicissitudes. A rectangular face paired with a thick pair of eyebrows, a high-bridged nose, and some wrinkles on his skin which were the marks of his years of life. While Mrs. Mo's eyes gradually blurred, she stretched out an old and wrinkled hand to touch Mo Shengli's face. Even though she hadn't seen him in years, she could recognize him at a glance. "Where have you been all these years? Why didn't you come back?" Old Mrs. Mo choked. She eyed Mo Shengli up and down. He seemed to have become cool-headed, and his limp attracted her attention. "What happened to your leg?" Old Mrs. Mo asked with concern. His leg seemed to be very injured, and she looked at the walking stick beside him. It was made of gold wire, tiny cedar. and an eagle beak carved into it. It's all in the past. Mo Shengli brushed it off. He clearly didn't want to talk about what happened back then. He turned to look at Mo Zhenrong, a hint of confusion in his eyes. "You're already so big?" He patted his shoulder symbolically, seeming without much emotion. Mo Zhenrong couldn't believe it when he saw his uncle standing in front of him. His past memories instantly flooded his mind. His feelings for his uncle were mixed with suspicions. "Hurry and sit down. Look, these are your favorite dishes. It's been so many years and I still remember. Where have you been? Why haven't you come back? We thought you died. The tombstone has been erected for you so many years." Old Mrs. Mo couldn't wait any longer and took his hand to sit at the dining table. Mo Shengli smiled and didn't say anything. "It's been so many years, but you still remember. It's been hard on you." He smiled and looked at Mo Zhenrong. "I heard that Zhenrong has a wife. Why haven't I seen her today?" Mo Zhenrong immediately became vigilant. He was the one who called Ayn Rand to steal the documents, but he pretended not to know. Ayn Rand's father is sick and she's accompanying her father in the hospital. She might be coming over later. Mo Zhenrong spoke coldly. "Uncle, can you tell me where you've been all these years? Why are you only back now?" Mo Shengli was silent for a moment before he continued. "It's all in the past. The storm changed my life. After I was blown off the ship, I thought I was going to die, but unexpectedly, when I woke up, I had miraculously floated to an island and I didn't die. At some point, my leg hit a reef and the sharp reef severed the tendons in my leg, which is why my leg became like this. Back then, the island didn't have any communication equipment or even electricity. It was a fishing village and the villagers saved me. I lived on the island for a few years and even went out to sea to catch fish with them. It wasn't until the voyage was over that I came to land. To be honest, I had amnesia at the time and couldn't remember who I was or where my house was. Later, I met a foreigner and he asked me to go abroad with him. So I lived abroad for many years until a few months ago. I was in a car accident. In the car accident, I instantly remembered everything about who I am, and that's why I came back to find you. I didn't expect Zhenrong to have become a big child," Mo Shengli said. He seemed nonchalant about the past. Mo Zhenrong found a few flaws and was just about to ask a question when old Mrs. Mo started to cry again. "Shengli, I thought you were dead for all these years. We couldn't salvage your body back then. It's good that you're back. Why don't you have a taste and see if it's the same as last time?" Old Mrs. Mo picked up a piece of beef and placed it in front of Mo Shengli. Mo Shengli looked but didn't move his chopsticks. He smiled. "Mom, I am tired of eating fish since I lived on an island. I'm disgusted by fish now. The beef looks good, but my tastes have changed over the years. The storms left some after effects. I can't eat beef or mutton." Old Mrs. Mo was a little disappointed, but she soon smiled. Chapter 378, The Reason for Disappearance. "Is chicken alright? I remember that chicken drumsticks were your favorite food in the past. Have a taste." Old Mrs. Mo struggled to get up, grabbing a chicken drumstick from afar from Mo Shengli. Mo Shengli nodded. He could try it. He stretched out his hand to pick up the drumstick. Mo Zhenrong saw the tattoo on his hand at a glance, but half of it was covered by a ring, and there were several distinct scars on his hand. This past wound seemed to be very deep, and there were deep calluses between his thumb and index finger. These calluses were either hands that often used knives, or, as he said, calluses that often worn with rope. "Uncle, your hand?" Mo Shengli hurriedly retracted his hand. "I accidentally scratched it while fishing. Back then, there wasn't any medicine, so I casually smeared some Chinese herbs on it and left several scars." "Poor child. What have you been doing all these years?" Old Mrs. Mo asked curiously, seeing that he was dressed in luxury brands. His business must be booming. "I'm a stock investor online, and I have been making a lot of money over the years. I have enough to support myself," Mo Shengli said humbly. "Are you married? Do you have children?" Old Mrs. Mo asked again. "Grandma, you're asking too many questions," Mo Zhenrong said. "It doesn't matter. Who would dare to marry me with my leg like this? There are so many side effects from back then. and now I have to go to the hospital for a follow-up every half a year. I won't bring harm to others, Mo Shengli said. Old Mrs. Mo nodded, suddenly remembering something. Shengli, you suddenly came back. Just nice. Chang Wen's position is empty. Why don't you go to the company and take over Chang Wen's position? He won't be coming back anyway. Old Mrs. Mo was upset. I heard about Chang Wen. He's really silly, Mom. Your life is really tough. Your 2 sons. Mo Shengli stopped midway, seeming to deliberate. Old Mrs. Mo didn't notice. She was just a little upset. It's my fault for not educating him well. When he was young, he was weak and sickly. I was biased against him and ignored your feelings. Now that I think about it, it wasn't worth it. Mojiro had been quietly observing his uncle, and the corner of his mouth lifted occasionally, as though he was pleased. Mom, it's my fault for bringing this up. I heard that the company was robbed recently. Have you found the items? Mo Shengli asked deliberately. No, I'm just worried that something bad will happen. There are many people online who are offering high prices for confidential information. There hasn't been any news yet. I'm afraid that they were serious. I wonder which group of powerful thieves could break through the highest defense so easily. Well, Mrs. Mo was worried. Mom, don't worry. If I enter the company, I will definitely get it back. Jinrong, you were able to bring the company to the top 3 in just a few short years. You're really not simple. When I was young, I knew you would make a fortune. But I didn't expect you to grow up to be such a businessman. Your father will be very happy when he finds out, Mo Shengli said. Uncle, you said that you were in a car accident. May I know which hospital you visit? I want to take you for another checkup to ensure your health. Mo Jinrong wanted to see if Mo Shengli was lying. His uncle was slightly taken aback. It's alright. I just did a full body checkup before coming over and everything is normal. Alright. I will definitely let Uncle familiarize himself with the company's business and procedures. Uncle Chang Wen's things were left behind. I hope you will be able to do something beneficially for the Mo Corporation. Mo Jinrong reminded him warningly. Of course. Mo Shengli looked around nostalgically. Everything was the same, but there was something different. This place is the same as before. Things have remained the same, but people have changed. It's a little bleak now. Old Mrs. Mo looked around and said, Yunga passed away so many years ago, and the villa lost some vitality. I remember that she loved to play with the flowers and plants. Now the flowers are blooming so luxuriously, but no one is here to admire them. Old Mrs. Mo was anguished. Mo Shengli had more to say when Anran walked over from behind with a smile. Is this the uncle that disappeared a long time ago? Everyone turned to look at her. Anran, hurry. Old Mrs. Mo was very happy to see Anran. She smiled and waved at Anran. This is Jinrong's uncle, Shengli, who just returned today. This is Jinrong's wife, Lan Anran. She has a pretty face, right? Old Mrs. Mo was overjoyed. Sweeping away the gloominess from before. Anran, what a good name. I have long heard that Mo Jinrong's wife is a beautiful woman. It seems to be so after seeing it in real life, Mo Shengli said. Uncle, you flatter me. I heard that you were coming back today, so I prepared a small gift. I hope you like it. Anran prepared a box that was over a meter long. She let someone hold it and opened it personally. There was a wood carving of a Guan Yin statue inside. She had checked his information long ago, and it seemed to have been deliberately released. Surprisingly, it was said that he liked wood carvings, so she paired this gift with his interest and got someone to make a large ornament. Mo Shengli was startled when he saw this. He glanced at Anran and smiled. How did you know I liked this thing? He stood up and held the gift with both hands, looking very respectful. I knew that you were coming. I'm very sorry that I looked up your information online, but I learned that you loved wood carvings from doing so I got someone to carve this. I hope you like it. When I saw the pattern of the eagle's beak on the walking stick, I immediately knew mine was a cheap in comparison. Anran smiled. She saw the walking stick the moment she entered. The person who carved it must be a master. The eagle head was vivid, and there was a coating of sebum on it, indicating that it had been used for a long time. I like it very much. I'll get someone to place it inside, Mo Shengli said. Old Mrs. Mo immediately had his things sent to his room. She had picked up the best room for Mo Shengli. That little girl is quick-witted and knows how to handle things. She really catches your attention, Mo Shengli said. Uncle, are you going to work in the company? Anran sat down and asked. I told them that Shengli will take over Cheng Wen's position, because no one has taken over the position ever since it was empty. Old Mrs. Mo was overjoyed. On one side was her son, and the other side was her granddaughter-in-law. Grandma, we haven't even gotten documents yet. But we're adding a newbie? Is that really appropriate? Anran felt uncomfortable. Wasn't this giving Mo Shengli a chance? Jinran didn't think it mattered. With him watching, Mo Shengli probably wouldn't do anything beyond his tolerance level. He could also monitor him. It's fine. Uncle is a stock investor overseas, and Uncle Cheng Wen used to be in charge of the company's finance. There isn't a conflict. In the past, in order to weaken Mo Cheng Wen's authority, Mo Jinrong had given him the right to manage the company's shares and become Mo Jinrong's representative. However, it was just an empty title. It wasn't real, and Mo Jinrong was in the company all year round, so Mo Cheng Wen didn't have a chance to show off his rights. Chapter 379, Retirement. Before Sheng Li came, he had investigated everything. Cheng Wen was the figurehead, but it wouldn't stop him from doing things as long as he could enter the company. Sheng Li, hurry and eat. I'll get them to perform an opera for you. I wonder if you'll like the show. Old Mrs. Mo smiled and said. She had someone pick a song and let them sing on stage. Sheng Li smiled. You suffered a lot on the island over the years. It's great to have a chance to hear it, she said. Uncle, which island was it? Jinrong and I would like to thank them. Anran smiled and said. The islands had names, and they would know if Mo Shengli had lied. It's an island on the neighboring country called Anis Island. This is the name for many years. I don't know how it turned out after I went abroad, and I miss it, Sheng Li said. Anran immediately took out her phone and searched the island. It seemed that Sheng Li had made ample preparations. Uncle, is it this? Anna took out her phone and searched for a scenery photo for Sheng Li to see. Sheng Li narrowed his eyes and smiled. It's been so many years. I don't know what the island has become, but it's very possible. I remember the sunset was the most beautiful. What a sly old fox. Anna didn't manage to get anything out of him, so she put away her phone. Hurry and eat. It's getting cold. In the past, I could still cook for you when I was younger, but now I can't anymore. But I still remember the cooking method. Pick your favorite food. Old Mrs. Mo placed many dishes in front of Sheng Li. Mom, it's my fault that I couldn't take care of you all these years. But don't worry. I will take care of you when you're old. Since my brothers are gone, you can only rely on me. I will help Jinran take care of the company. Just wait to enjoy life, Sheng Li said. Old Mrs. Mo was overjoyed. Good. My villa has finally been a little crowded. Old Mrs. Mo looked at Jinrong and Anran. It seems that they didn't like what they said. Sheng Li didn't seem like he was here to harm anyone. They must have misunderstood. Jinrong looked at Sheng Li's every move and had a hunch that there was something wrong with this person. He hadn't been back in years, and now he was here. But there must be a problem. After the meal, old Mrs. Mo took Sheng Li around the entire villa. Sheng Li looked around the villa, which was very different from when he left. He then walked into his room. The original items were gone, but now it was brand new furniture. Sheng Li sighed. Mom, things are different here. Things are the same, but the people have changed. Old Mrs. Mo nodded sadly. Yeah, I put everything away after you left. I didn't throw it away. It's still in the storage room. I can get it back for you if you want, but it might be a little old. Sheng Li shook his head and smiled. There's no need. Those things can't be used anymore. It's alright if the useless trash is gone. After leaving the Mo Villa, Jinrong and Anran went to the company. Jinrong, what do you think of Sheng Li's purpose for coming here is? and then observed Sheng Li secretly. This person was shrewd and wasn't easy to deal with. Zhenrong shook his head. He didn't know either. He didn't know the current Sheng Li yet, so he couldn't act rashly. He could only observe him in the company later. Zhenrong, I want to ask you something. Now that things have come to this, I don't want to hide it from you anymore. I hope you won't hide it from me as well. Anren was solemn. Zhenrong stopped the car by the roadside and looked at her quietly. I know that you have a business in the black market. You are Shang Tian. Anren told the truth. She wanted to know why Mojano did this. She hadn't received any news about Shang Tian in the past few days, and he hasn't sold any medicine either. Something is wrong. What are you talking about? I don't know Shang Tian. You have the wrong person. Zhenrong stared straight at her, as though denying her words. You know I wouldn't hurt you. I investigated you for a long time. I hope you can tell me the truth. You know that I've been investigating you, right? You haven't had any news recently. Why? Anren came clean with Mojano, not wanting to know what he was up to. Zhenrong looked at her quietly and said, I did it for Yinger's sake. I have always been upset about her death. I hope to develop more medicine for heart disease so that people like Yinger can have a second chance in life. If it weren't for me, Yinger wouldn't have died. I'm atoning for my sins. But after Zero cured me last time, I had to let it go. After all, the black market wasn't a long-term plan. If my identity was exposed, there would be thousands of pairs of eyes watching me, and I couldn't take the risk anymore. I knew that you've been watching me. I'm going to put those medicines in the market now so that people can afford them. Zhenrong spoke tirelessly, and Anren finally understood why he was so obsessed with the medicine for heart disease. She grabbed Mojano's hand tightly and comforted him. Don't worry, I will definitely help you. Zero has agreed to continue your treatment in a week. A glint flashed in Mojano's eyes. Thank you. Meanwhile, Yanren has been busy with variety shows and the production team, so he couldn't care less about going home. Yanren, I have good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? Wang King was both overjoyed and worried. Of course it's the bad news first. I like bitter before sweet. Yanren smiled brightly. Your spot for the Virile variety show has been replaced. Why? I have already been booked by the Rural Countryside Records. The director was very satisfied with me. Who took away the resources I got from almost being taken advantage of by a big shot? Yanren was a little agitated. Previously, he had accompanied the big shot for a meal and drink, almost losing his virginity to get a spot for the variety show. He was furious that he'd been replaced. I don't know, the producer says that it was Li Shishi. There was only one spot there, so it's gone. Wang King smiled bitterly. Yanren, who didn't have any financial backers and counted on his fans and popularity, was at a disadvantage. It was normal for someone without a sugar daddy to be bullied. However, his brother-in-law was Zhenrong, so there wasn't anyone in the industry who would dare to touch him. At most, it would steal his resources. What about the good news? Yanren asked in dissatisfaction. The good news is that recently an official has extended an olive branch to you. Think about whether you want to accept it or not, but the female lead is Li Shishi. Would you like to deal with her? Wang King asked carefully. Sis Wang, don't you know how badly I was harmed by that woman last time? I'm not going. The thought of Li Shishi disgusted Yanren. He originally thought that she was a goddess, but she didn't expect her to be such a beast. Yanren, this is a proper drama. Why don't you endure it? This is a good opportunity for you to change your style. If you survive, your image will change to that of a capable actor, and you won't have to count on just your popularity, Wang King persuaded. Chapter 380, The First Pension. No, I would rather not accept the drama than cooperate with her. Yanren was annoyed with her. Wang King thought about it and agreed. Yanren was the face of the company, and could be said to be the number one. He had a lot to say in the company. Li Shishi was also the company's top gun. They couldn't afford to offend both of them. If the two of them ran into each other and started a fight, someone would be offended. So he might as well not accept the drama. Alright, there's been a suspense film going on recently. I heard that they're very interested in you, and there's a party coming up. You should go and try to get the role. Sis Wang, will this be the same as the last time? Yan asked carefully. He was scared. He almost lost his virginity the last time. He was scared just thinking about it. No, I've checked him. He is a serious director and very famous. But he has a little hobby and is a little superstitious. He believes in feng shui and likes to calculate birth characters. However, I have consulted a master. You can get along with him and you can bring him fortune. He won't let you fall. Wang King smiled and said, There were many things in the entertainment circle. Not everyone was superstitious. But it was just so that the goddess of luck would stand on his side and the artist could have better resources, so anything could happen. She was considered an experienced manager in the entertainment industry and had attended countless diners and cocktail parties. For Yan Ran's sake, she had gone to great lengths to find a director's preferences. Thank you, Sis Wang, but I have received news that the school wants me to create a show for the graduation party because we're about to graduate. So can I take a few days off? Yan Ran had received the news. He didn't want to go, but he had no choice. He couldn't offend the principal, so he had to agree. Wang King frowned and looked at the schedule. It was full every day, and it was impossible to find time to rehearse other scenes. Yan Ran, you don't have a lot of time to film other dramas, and have been extremely busy in the past few days. I can only push the matter back and give you 3 days. 3 days might be tight for a show, but it's alright if you sing or dance. You can decide for yourself. Yan Ran nodded. It was great that he had 3 days. He had been busy with work, and he hadn't seen his father or heard from him. Ever since Ting Young got better, he had been out, and now 3 days were extremely precious. After finished recording the last variety show, he went straight to the hospital. Ting Young's health was getting better by the day, and he could be discharged after a few more days of rest. Yan Ran's appearance in the hospital attracted the attention of many patients and nurses, but he was used to being a celebrity. Dad, I'm here. Yan Ran walked in with a grin. Rascal, how did you know to come back? It's been so many days and you still remember me? Ting Young was dissatisfied. Dad, am I not busy earning your pension funds? Yan Ran smiled as he stuffed a bank card into Ting Young's hand. This is my latest savings, around 10 million yuan. I have left some money for my living expenses and the rest is for you and my mom. This is the first time I'm giving you a pension. Ting Young suddenly felt the weight in his hand. His eyes grew moist. His son had grown up. He didn't love his son in vain. Rascal. Our son is back. Hubby, why are you crying? When Li Yiro saw the nurses surrounding the door, she thought something had happened to Ting Young, but she understood it when she walked in and saw that it was Yan Ran. Dear, our son has grown up. The 10 million yuan in this card is our retirement money. I can't dot on him for nothing. Ting Young was touched. Look at you. It was the right decision to make Yan Ran a star. Otherwise, he would be crying as he worked as a nurse. Li Yiro smiled as she said, Yes, we have good children. Ting Young wiped his tears and smiled. It's getting late and your dad is going to bed. Yan Ran, your sister is home. You should go home too. Li Yiro smiled as she said. Yan Ran went straight home after leaving the hospital, but when he returned to his house, he could vaguely sense someone watching him. But when he returned around, there was nothing. He suspected that he had seen wrong and entered the house. Sis, I'm here. Yan Ran ran upstairs to knock on Yan Ran's door, but she wasn't home at all. Strange, Mom says she was. Yan Ran, you're back? Yan Ran appeared from behind, startling Yan Ran. Sis, where have you been? Yan Ran asked. I just came back from your brother-in-law's house. Why are you back? Yan Ran smiled and said. In fact, she had gone to investigate Mo Sheng Li, but all the information was fake. She didn't continue to read it after reading half of it. The principal asked me to come back and arrange a show for the seniors. I'm a little rushed for 3 days, so I'll talk to the principal tomorrow and get it changed to a musical. That'll give me more time. Yan Ran smiled. The next day, Yan Ran was chased by students the moment he got out of the car. Some people hadn't finished their exams and could only stay in school. The leader who was complaining just now stopped complaining when he saw Yan Ran. He ran all the way to the principal's office, panting. Principal, I only have 3 days, so I want to change the play to a musical, alright? The The principal looked at the students outside who were like zombies. He nodded and left to chase them away. Sure, you are the school's pride. It's great that you can attend this performance. You can decide the details yourself, the principal smiled. After Yan Ran obtained the principal's approval, he walked out of the principal's office. Suddenly, Zhao Xiaolei, who was by his side, jumped out and handed him a small note card and a pen with a smile. Can you give me an autograph for the sake of your sister? Sure. Yan Ran signed his name onto the paper gracefully. What happened to your sister? She didn't pick up any of my messages or attend class. Did something happen? Zhao Xiaolei asked. No, sister's too busy right now. It won't be easy to be the young lady of the Mo family. Yan Ran smiled and said. Although he didn't see his sister, he could sense her presence. They were both so busy, but so was my brother. He's always so mysterious and even has a smile when he leaves. He goes to work late and leaves early. I wonder what he's up to. Zhao Xiaolei pouted. Then you might have a new sister-in-law. Yan Ran ran off as soon as he finished speaking, followed by a large group of fans. Zhao Xiaolei smiled sinisterly. Zhao Xiaolei interned sinisterly. This way, she could coerce him into letting her intern in the company. At the Zhao family villa, Zhao Han returned home in high spirits, his face glowing. He was about to head upstairs when Zhao Gulong came down. Dad, I'm back. Rascal, do you know what time it is? Where have you been? Zhao Gulong looked at his son strangely. Something must be wrong with him to be so happy. It's nothing. I worked overtime in the company and it was too late. Zhao Han smiled. Overtime? Don't lie to me. Are you hiding something from me? You just took over the company. You can't be cheated. You should look at things from far away. Zhao Gulong was afraid his son was too young. He needed constant reminders. No, don't worry. Zhao Han smiled. Don't worry. I heard that you were late and left early. As a CEO, you are outrageous. Tell me, where did you go? When Zhao Gulong was patrolling the company recently, he heard Zhao Han's strange actions. Was this child deceived? Dad, you're right. I will correct it. I just want to make a deal, so we went drinking with my clients, Zhao Han explained. Oh man, would my brother lie? That person is Mo Junong. It's the business deal with the Mo Corporation, Zhao Xiaolei hurriedly explained. If Zhao Gulong found out, how could she threaten Zhao Han? Mo family. Mo Junong is a crafty person. You have to be careful. You are still young. Mo Junong may not be old, but you can't compare to him. He is too shrewd. You have to be careful. Zhao Gulong reminded his son.